Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Angie.
And together, we are TwinFinity.
You did your little eyebrow thing. It's so cute when you do that.
I even tried not to do my eyebrow thing.
I like the eyebrow thing. So Rob's having a bit of a rough night. Rob's ready for a nap. So we're not sure how a question and answer video is going to go. If you see this, then we made it through. If you don't see this, we didn't make it through.
If you don't see this, it'll end up on one of our blooper reels.
Yeah. I'm finally getting sleep. If you've been kind of following our videos the last while, I had a whole year, without exaggeration, an entire year of sleep struggles. And finally, I have solved my sleep struggles, and I am starting to sleep. I've had like, what, a month now?
Yeah, even a bit more.
A month of sleep. And now it's Rob's turn.
Now I don't know what's going on. I'm sleeping. There's hours of non-recognition of anything, and I'm just not waking up feeling rested. I feel like I could sleep another hour or two every night, but I can't do the actual sleep itself. So, it's not every day, but it is today.
It is today. So we're going to attempt question and answers and try to give coherent answers.
Or something. I'm just hoping to read coherent questions. So are we ready?
Sure, we'll dive in. We won't even have a bunch of preamble like we normally do because I don't think Rob can last that long. But I do want to comment. We did not plan today what we were going to wear at all. I had already planned what I was going to wear, but I didn't tell Rob. And he's wearing black, and I'm wearing black, but I actually added red. I don't normally wear red. It's not a color of mine. But I've had these earrings for a while, and I just really needed to wear them because they're like little lips. They're so cute. And so I'm wearing red and black, and we're both wearing black, and we didn't even plan that.
I'm just wearing a wrap-around shirt for working out in the garage, which I did. I got a bunch of stuff done. I just haven't changed out of this shirt. It's my lazy Sunday shirt.
We normally wear blue and pink without even trying, and today we're black and red.
Or black.
Or black. Okay, I'll take my red off. We can just be black.
That would be fun. Talk about a patchwork.
Okay.
Question 1. My TF was my college instructor. Let's start that all over again.
This is going to be a fun video.
No. I am in so much trouble.
I even offered to read the questions for Rob, and he's like, no, I'll try.
My TF was my college instructor, and I was one of his students, and we never talked about it because of the legalities. I don't ever see him reaching out to me, so how would it be possible for us to come into reunion when we never acknowledged it in the first place? Also, when having flashes/visions of my twin flame, are they aware of these flashes? For example, he came to me and gently kissed me on the cheek, and I felt this to be so real, and this flash happened seconds before waking up. So just wondering whether his 3D self is aware of all this happening.
Okay, so since you did so well reading, I will dive in to answer first.
Okay.
Okay, well done.
Thank you.
So, first part of the question is like, how will we ever get into union if he doesn't even acknowledge, or we don't talk about the fact that we're connected and we have this unique connection? The fact is, you don't have to consciously be aware of it. Like, one twin flame doesn't necessarily have to agree or even know that you're twin flames to come into union, because it's a soul connection, right? It's not a logical connection. So it doesn't matter what the term is. You can call it anything you want. But if the other person doesn't get that, that doesn't matter. When it's time, their soul will know. Their soul will awaken. Whether they acknowledge the twin flame concept or not, their soul will know it's time for me to be with you. And the universe will conspire to get you together, even if you are, have this different connection of being instructor and student. That doesn't matter. Nothing matters. None of the external challenges that we see are challenges really matter. It's us learning to surrender to those challenges and surrender to the journey, and remember that this is a soul connection. It's not a connection of the mind. So just trust that your souls know what they're doing. They will bring you together when it's time.
The word that comes to my mind is chemistry. It's been my experience that it's very difficult for one person to have chemistry with the other without the other person recognizing that there's some chemistry in return.
Yeah.
So just because it's never been outwardly acknowledged doesn't necessarily mean that there isn't a two-way bit of chemistry, as much as that's a three-dimensional term. A bit of chemistry on the go that would actually allow for the 5D side to actually have a channel way to communicate. So I would say that there is more connection here. There's likely to be more connection than what is actually been acknowledged in 3D. Very much. Which leads right in to the flashes and visions of being kissed on the cheek by your twin in what you consider to be your dream, but does the other twin know that this is happening? In the 5D, likely. In the 3D, quite unlikely.
Yeah. I've had these experiences, again, if you've watched our story videos, you know that we've talked about this, where I had tons of flashes of Rob being with me and living with me and the physical stuff, much like this. And of course, now that we're in union, I've asked Rob, like, did you have any recollection of that? Do you remember any of that? Nothing at all. So just because you experience it and are very consciously aware of it, it doesn't necessarily mean the other person is consciously aware of it. But that's okay. Remember, one of you is usually the 3D twin, which is grounding your connection into this physical reality, while the other of you is the 5D twin, which is bringing the energy from up above, the soul connection down. So just because they don't consciously know of it, aren't aware of it, don't have any memory of it on a physical level, it doesn't mean it's not real, and it doesn't mean it didn't happen. That, some people think, well, I just made this up then. It was all in my imagination. Not at all. It's very real.
When two people are in touch with each other on a regular basis, you can have what we call TF moments, where you can actually acknowledge that let's say one person had a thought and the other person had a reciprocal thought at the same time. When you're not in touch with each other, those moments can just happen in a flash and then be lost because there's no connection to cause it to be real or recognizable. So they may actually be realizing it, but they're just feeling like they're just going through an old class list, and therefore they just kind of remembered everybody, and one person stood out very briefly in their mind, and
that's a good point.
Just go on with it. So yeah, when you're in touch with someone, you can have the TF moments when there's no physical connection or reconnection or communication connection in the 3D, then likely those moments are just lost in time.
I was just going to warn you're going to hear some squeaking, because the dog, of course, out of all the toys she has to get the only one that makes noise when we're doing a video.
Of course, that means that we're not paying attention to the dog. So the dog will try to find a way to get our attention.
All right, well, we'll just carry on to the next question. And
dog, children, similar.
Come over here, you weirdo, you.
Next question. Do you feel that in order to come back into union, both of you need to be perfectly healed, healthy, and whole as a single soul? Meaning that I've seen other twin flame teachers or so-called experts say to do things like eat vegan or vegetarian, work out, get a great body, get a higher education, make more money, give unconditional love to all, give up bad habits, etc., etc., etc. That just seems a little ridiculous and impossible to me. I mean, we are all human, and we will never be perfect. I get the self-love and healing wounds of the past and learning from others and setting boundaries. That seems perfectly realistic and healthy and normal. I believe that once union or reunion happens, you still have to work as individuals do. You're just more understanding of the triggers and can process it and clear it better. What do you think? I've grown a lot with the understanding of this journey over the past 4 years. The truth is, I think a lot of these people are kind of crazy. That's my logical ego thinking. So, well, let's go back to the beginning. Do you need to be perfectly healed, healthy, and whole as a single soul? Okay. All that is based upon a form of something called judgment. One person's feeling healthy and happy and healed is another person's saying to them, no, you still got a lot more work to do. That's all very judgmental. If you feel healthy, if you feel happy, if you feel like you've done a bunch of healing, that positivity is far more important and probably far more recognizable by others than if you've taken those criteria and put them out to others for judgment. So it's important that you have your own criteria for your level of healing and health and happiness.
Yes. And this might come across as a criticism to, like she's saying, some coaches and stuff that are out there say that you have to be fully healed and eating only vegan and no, give up all bad habits. But some people are on this journey to make money, and they're not necessarily having other people's best interests at heart. They're trying to tell you, look, you got to keep coming to see me because you have more to heal. And so that's how they keep making more money. There's a lot of good teachers, though, too, that are going to keep directing you back to yourself. And quite honestly, that's the best way to find a teacher, a healer, somebody if you want to work with them and pay them. Because there's nothing wrong with people offering services. It's when they try to manipulate you and guilt you, or say that they know better. So always trust those that, if you're working with them, that guide you back to yourself, help you find your own inner knowing and say, okay, how do you feel? Do you feel healed? Do you feel whole? Do you feel like you're in a balanced state? If they're telling you, oh no, you got this work to do, and oh, it's going to cost more money, and might not be the people you want to go see. And that's where you trust your own guidance, your own intuition, right? Because absolutely not. No, you don't have to be completely healed. Like this person is saying, we're human. Like, how are we going to? And bingo, we're not totally healed. We know many twins in union that aren't totally healed, and you can't be. We are eternal soul beings. We are always growing. We are always learning. We are always expanding, even when we cross over to the other side again. It doesn't mean like once we die, we have everything figured out and we're like, gurus. So no, we're never going to get it completely bang on. And also with diet, I'm sorry, I just cut you off, but I wanted to just add, with diet, you definitely don't need to be like vegan or vegetarian. We've shared in, I'll link it above. I forget the actual title, but it was one of our 11 videos when we were doing videos on the 11th of every month. I think it was 11 misconceptions or something like that. And that was one of them where we talked about, eating meat or eating specific foods. Rob is what I think you even called yourself in that video. You're a meatitarian.
Yeah, I'm a meatitarian. Sorry, world. I look at half of this list of things that, it does aspire to a healthier, more, I'd say, pure life. I got about 2/3 of it. Not very well done. I'm failing on it, but I don't really want to call it
I was
failing
just going to say, it's not failing.
because just like everybody else, I'm on my own journey. And some things I'm going to learn the hard way. Some things I'm going to learn the easy way. Some things I'm just not going to learn. So it's kind of a judgment call if you want to put yourself in what you believe is a better position by doing a bunch of what would be more balanced, holistic, closer to nature things, like let's say eating vegan. I'm not going to judge you on your desire to do that, and if you can actually accomplish that, that's better than I can do. That's all fair.
Well, and it's also to keep in mind, much like that was addressed in the last question, one of you is much more the very grounded, earthy, 3D person. So, there's a lot of people that say, well, I don't see how my twin and I are ever going to get to union because he or she still eats meat or he or she still eats dairy and I don't need any of that. That might be their journey. It's not for us to judge what another person eats or doesn't eat. Like I've seen so many people, on social media say, oh, if you're still eating meat, you're a low vibration and you're not going to ascend. And who's anybody to say that? Our body is our own decision of that. And if your body can still process that and you are okay eating it, that's where I say, again, it's all inside of us. There's nobody outside of us that should be telling us, well, you must live this way and you must eat this. Once you listen to your own body, your body will tell you. Rob's body can eat that kind of stuff. My body can't. I accidentally ate dairy, not knowing there was dairy in something, and I feel kind of like crap today. My stomach is killing me. Because my body can't do dairy. But that's my body. Does that mean we can't be in union because he eats dairy and I don't? Absolutely not. So it's learning to honor you and listen to your own guidance, your own physical body, what it manages, what it doesn't. There was also more. I'll read while you comment because you had another comment.
Yeah, I did. I was looking at the I believe that once union or reunion happens, you still have work to do. Yes.
Totally.
The work does not stop.
No.
In fact, when you get into union and start to compare notes, you actually kind of add to each other's list, and it feels like that there's more work to do.
In the beginning, at least for us, it felt like there was. But now I feel like we're at a good balance. I mean, there's still work to do, but like your triggers are much less. You are able to own your stuff. Like we had something happen just the other day. And you sent me a text and said, I'm sorry that I annoyed you. And I was able to own my stuff and go, well, here's what was going on with me. No problem.
She woke up feeling a little bit just not perfect in the morning. You know how you just wake up and you're just like everything, like a noise outside would be aggravating? I put a pillow on her head and then I kind of rubbed it in just a little bit.
Tapped
because I'm getting up early and she's not getting up quite as early. And
it irritated the crap out of me. And I'm like, will you stop it?
Yes. And of course, then I gave it an extra little rub. And of course, that's the wrong thing to do. So, yeah. And I just, of course, I got to work and I felt bad that I didn't realize I was poking the bear, but I poked the bear. So I sent an apology text. It's just, hi, sorry, I didn't realize that you weren't perfectly awake and couldn't handle a little bit of me just trying to have a little fun. It happens.
And then I just owned my part of it and said, well, I'm sorry I barked at you. Here's what was going on with me. And so you still have stuff going on. We're always going to have stuff going on while we're in a human body. But you just learn how to own it quicker and work through it quicker without pointing at the other person and making it their fault. Like I could have said, well, God, why were you such a jerk? And why would you do that to me? I'm trying to sleep. And he could have said, man, you were so rude to me. Why did you react that way? How come you were so grumpy? Instead, we just each owned our part. It was done. It was like a 2-second thing, and we moved on with life. So it gets quicker to heal and work through things because you know how to own them. You know what triggers you, why it triggers you, because you know yourself better.
Backing up just a little bit, when it comes to giving unconditional love to all and giving up bad habits to try to be that better person before you come into union, sometimes something that may seem like you're just not being as good as you could be just doesn't matter in a relationship, and it ends up being something that you can put a little bit lower down on the list and work on things that are more important. Other times when you get into the relationship, something that seems sort of maybe a little bit important to you might be very important to the other person, and there's your opportunity to step up to the plate and maybe work on that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes you wait till after you're in union to see whether or not what's important to you or what isn't important to you changes. It's all good because
Yeah.
just like many moving targets, you can't guess it all anyway.
No.
So do what you can and honor yourself as best as you can without totally destroying yourself to reach very, very high goals that you really don't feel that you need to accomplish. But at the same time, don't be afraid to let some things ride until your life changes a bit after you get into union or as you're getting into union.
Yeah.
Do anything else on this?
I don't think so.
Yeah, with all that's been said, the truth is I think a lot of these people are kind of crazy. That's called resonating or not resonating. Some people are kind of crazy.
We're kind of crazy.
We're kind of crazy.
In our own ways. I think we're all kind of crazy in our own ways. Some in ways that are tolerable and some that aren't.
Yeah.
Welcome to humanity.
But I have, to handle my own bits of craziness and understand that other people can just be crazy in their own way, I quite often remember that, and I've already said this once within the video, to honor other people's journeys, because they probably realize that some of the things that they do are a little bit odd, but it's just their journey. So it's what their soul needs to learn.
Yeah.
Next question?
Next question.
Okay. We broke up because he found it hard to sustain 1 hour per week communication with me, and I found it overwhelming with his busy schedule. So here's two people that had very little time to communicate, and one said this just isn't worth it and gave up. We decided to just be friends, yet he insisted to visit me during his vacation time in my country next year, but I said no. We used to spend 1 week together during his vacation before, but I decided not to meet anymore with him. I just want to be plain friends. No visits. I want to make a boundary because I'm afraid to fall again with him when we see each other again face to face. I also want to let him feel that there are some changes after we broke up and not to do the usual thing when we can still get together. Can twin flames be just plain friends with no exceptions and just meet face to face and text and call, etc.? I think that is better not to close the doors, but to have no plans of reaching out for the sake of healing and growing, especially for my sake.
This totally makes me think of you and I when we lived in the same apartment building still and we were broken up. But
No, we're not going to see each other again. We're not going to talk to each other again. Yeah, give it 3 days.
yeah,
Give it 4
and then
days.
I'm back at your apartment and all the same stuff going on again. And you're like, oh man. So yeah, sometimes you finally have to set a boundary and say enough. Like we got to quit this pattern, otherwise we're never going to get past it. So I totally understand where this person's coming from of like saying, yeah, as much as I'd love to see him when he comes to visit, I think it's better if I don't, because I don't want to go back into those old patterns. Kind of wise.
And those old patterns can sometimes hurt.
Yes.
What I hear here. You're
here.
Oh boy, still tired.
You're doing well though. You're pulling it together.
She is protecting herself, She's setting a bunch of rules in place so that she can step on further with her life without backsliding back into the style of relationship that she feels is not going to be sustainable because he isn't going to want it long term. Yeah, this is really hard when one person has to set the boundaries without the input from the other person. Or when there's two completely different styles of boundaries to set, and one person has to choose which set of boundaries are going to happen.
Or even if you both agree on the boundaries. Oh, look at that. We froze. That was kind of weird. Oh, okay.
We got some freezing going on.
What's happening? Hopefully it's still going to work out. We'll just carry on and see what happens. The computer is unhappy with us tonight. What was I saying? If you both agree on the boundaries, have the same boundaries, but then you meet face to face and all those boundaries just fall apart. And we know all about that.
Yeah. It can happen.
It does happen. Because the soul, you can use your mind all you want before you meet and go, okay, well, we're going to do this and we're not going to do that. And we're going to, just keep it platonic or whatever. And then you meet and then the soul recognition just goes and all boundaries out the window all over again.
But usually, I'm going to use our example a little bit, but I'm also going to use a lot from what I've heard from other people. Usually one person is the person that expands the boundaries. When you get together, when there's supposed to be boundaries, one person tries to blur the boundaries. But it's usually that same person that if it gets down to the point where boundaries must be obeyed or there is no chance of talking or seeing or texting ever again, that same person will usually completely respect the boundaries because it's usually their own weakness because they're so involved in the relationship that they really don't want boundaries. But then again, if the relationship is going to disappear completely, they'll champion the boundaries. They'll all of a sudden take over and be the person that wants to have some boundaries as opposed to nothing at all. That doesn't mean that a person should be threatening to pull the relationship so that the other person controls how much the boundaries are followed. That's a form of manipulation. It should still be mutual with the thought that both people are unhappy that the boundaries got crossed and that someone got upset.
Okay, so the question at the bottom is, can TFs just be plain friends with no expectations of meeting face-to-face, call, text, etc.?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
If it's important enough that they both stay in touch, and if staying in touch requires that there is no expectations of meeting face-to-face, etc., can they just be plain friends? Yes. As per what I was saying earlier, if it's plain friends or nothing, usually people will choose the plain friends.
Agree, but I don't know if that's sustainable forever. Because the soul pull is going to pull one or both of you together at some point. That's my opinion and my experience. We tried the friends thing.
And it was very, very difficult.
It didn't go very well. It was easier to just not communicate at all. We went years without communicating because it was just easier. Some people can do it. It wasn't our path very well.
What I don't want to say is that it's impossible.
Agree. I don't think it's impossible. Nothing's impossible if you want it. But I don't know. There's that pull, and then one of you, even both of you, end up at some point. Like even, I'm gonna divulge a little secret. Is that okay?
Yeah, considering I don't know what secret it is, I'll just nod yes. If my eyes go really big, you'll know that.
When we were just starting to come back into, I won't even say reunion, just reconnection. We met at a restaurant. I remember which one it was. It was right near here. I remember what I was wearing. And as we were leaving the restaurant, we were just friends, but you asked for a kiss.
Yes.
As just friends. That's not just friends. I'm just saying.
Just a friendly kiss.
It's just been my experience. It doesn't go well. It doesn't have to be that it's not your experience, though. You can have a very different experience than we did. And you're getting a licking by a dog.
Yep. I'm getting an arm wash.
Well, good. It'll keep the dog happy. All right. Anything more to say on that, or are we ready to move on?
I think I'm ready to go to the next question.
Okay.
I am currently in contact with my twin flame after a bit more than a year of no contact. I love him. I know he cares a lot for me in 3D and loves me in 5D. How would you recommend I act and reply to him after he doesn't talk to me for a day because he is with his karmic or just not giving his full amount of attention to me? I don't know whether I should show that I do not feel well when he is away, or should I always just be loving and sweet towards him when he does approach me for conversation? He does not know what twin flames mean yet.
Are you diving into that first, or am I?
Well, how should you react to him after he doesn't talk for a day because he is with his karmic? Are you reacting for you, or are you reacting for him? We're freezing again.
Why is our computer unhappy tonight?
See, that's the big question. I think you need to react naturally.
Yes.
Because if you react naturally, then you're reacting honestly. And that honesty without painting on something that is done for somebody else is very important. Because if you respond honestly all the time or most of the time, then it's very easy to maintain that honesty months and years later after you're in touch more. It doesn't change.
And this is a fine balance, though. What I actually wrote a note on this one, and I said, what does self-union look like? Because first of all, before you can come into physical union with somebody else, you have to come into self-union. You have to know yourself. You have to honor your feelings. You have to be able to express your feelings, whether you express them to him or a friend or just to yourself or your journal, whatever. You have to be authentic and real with yourself. That is what union is in inner union. So is it about pretending, oh, I'm fine and everything's great outwardly to him? Is it about pretending that you're fine even to yourself? So it's a balance of honoring your feelings, but also honoring him. He's in another relationship. Whether he knows your twin flames or not doesn't really matter. The fact is he is with someone else. And I'm just expressing my own opinion. I don't think it's right to go, hey, I feel sad because you didn't contact me yesterday, when he's with someone else. It's not his responsibility to communicate with you. He's in another relationship. That's his responsibility.
So you can expect to not hear from him
Absolutely.
a day or two, or sometimes
Absolutely.
even a week at a time.
Yeah.
He's going to be busy.
Yeah. And do you want him, when he's with you and in a relationship with you, are you comfortable with him talking with some other woman and them saying, hey, well, I'm feeling sad because you didn't communicate with me today because you were with her all day long? Do you see what I'm saying? When you gotta put yourself in his karmic shoes. Do you want that to happen to you? Because if you're allowing him and you're okay with him to be crossing lines with you, and maybe he's not crossing lines, maybe he's just communicating with you. But
some would still call that crossing lines.
For sure, possibly, depending on what you're communicating about, There's such thing as emotional intimacy and an emotional affair, those kinds of things. So it's about honoring what you feel, but it's also learning to honor him and where he's at, and knowing that if he's with someone else, there's reason for it, and not just for him to grow. There's reason for you and your own learning. And we've said this in many other videos. The karmic is usually in the connection for both of you, for both of your benefits. So it's to understand that this other person has a role that they are playing, and until their role is done in your connection with you and your twin flame, they're going to be there. So it might be easier to get used to him not having communication with you for a time. And then looking at, what does that mean for you? Are you experiencing abandonment? Is it triggering old wounds? So instead of bringing that up to him, that's for you to start owning and start healing, start looking at and going, oh, I feel abandoned. Okay, why do I feel abandoned? Where's that coming from? Is there codependency issues? Is there childhood issues that need healing? Those are all the sorts of things that you want to start looking at while he is doing his own work with someone else. This is your opportunity to do your work with yourself or someone else.
Angie wrote down a word in her notes when she pointed down to the piece of paper saying that she'd wrote notes. I actually read her notes. She has one word in there. It's authenticity. You both need to be authentic. And my opinion is in this is that if he's in a karmic relationship, he really does have the tough end of the stick on this one. He probably recognizes that you love him. You recognize that. And
he might even recognize that he loves you.
Yes. But in the meanwhile, he's the one doing the big juggling act here. He's the one that almost needs, or should at least be given the opportunity to be in charge of how much and when there is communication. This is really, really tough. You got to respect the position that he's in.
Yeah.
He's in the tough position on this one. So just because you love him doesn't mean that he now has rules that he has to follow because he must return your love because you love him. He's got his own, looks like problems in this case. I'm not going to say issues, but it's just struggles between karmic and yourself.
Yeah. And rather than putting him in a sort of a triangle of having to, I don't know why our computer's so miserable tonight, trying to pick and choose and feel like he's in a triangle, just give him the space. Let him do what he needs to do with this other person. And in the same time, honor yourself and feel what comes up for you to be healed. If it's triggering, great. Instead of telling him that, because it's not his responsibility to heal that. It might be good for you to just go, wait, I'm triggered. This is really triggering me, or this is really hurting me, and then look at your own stuff and do some work, do some healing around that. And that sounds kind of harsh, and I'm not wanting to be harsh, but it's just sometimes we want to point the finger at the other person and make it their fault or their responsibility, when really we have no control over anybody, whether it's our twin flame, a parent, it doesn't matter who. We only have control and responsibility for ourselves and our own feelings. So yes, we can express those feelings to someone else, but how they choose to take it is their choice, not ours. So if you feel guided to say something to him, sure. But make sure it's not, you're making me feel this way, or, making him responsible for what's going on for you, because that's your piece in the puzzle.
So now that we've had all this discussion, I almost have an answer for how would you recommend I act and reply to him after he doesn't talk to me for a day, etc., etc. I think the word is with gratefulness, because there's many people that would love to be able to still be in touch with,
that's true,
with their twin flame when they're involved in a karmic, and a lot of people just don't have that because they get shut out. So because you have that, with gratefulness. There's an answer that came out of all this discussion.
That's nice. I like that. So I hope that's helpful. Like, again, didn't mean to be harsh, but some truth needs to be spoken.
Next question.
Yeah.
How do you deal with expectations, traditional beliefs, judgments, negative feelings of people that are close to your twin, such as his parents or siblings, and all those traditional beliefs, etc., affect our relationship? How do you heal differences to compatibility like lifestyle, behavior, family upbringing, class difference, personalities, likes and dislikes? Sometimes it feels like we're both so different as people. Will my twin ascend if people around him, especially his family, don't want him to? They are very dominating over him and want him brainwashed in the old traditional beliefs of family and marriage habits and belief systems. Can we heal expectations that a twin has about us or wanting me to be a different person in 3D? I am a very ambitious and career oriented person, and my twin wants me to be a housewife and to serve him and his family.
That's a lot of good, tough questions.
That sounds almost like a new age versus old age, or traditional versus new style conflict in family beliefs and values.
Which is common with twin flames. Again, this was something we addressed in another one of our 11 videos, how you can have so many, I can't even remember what that one was titled either, but so many things to heal through the journey. And this is a huge one when there's cultural differences and belief differences and family differences. I think they listed like a whole whackload of them. Class differences. There's a lot of stuff to heal and work through there.
People generally don't change unless they want to change, unless they have a reason to change.
Yeah.
And to have someone abandon everything that's been ingrained into them by their family and take up a completely different way of thinking. I call it a lifestyle way of thinking as opposed to maybe a true just living way of thinking. To take all those roots and rip them up out of the ground and plug them into a different soil and have them live differently is very, very difficult.
But it's also the journey that twin has chosen, your twin flame has chosen to grow through and work through as part of their journey. So while it's difficult, it can be done. It has been done. There are people that have worked through and healed those things. And what it's taken is for that twin to sort of let go of their family culture, not their culture, but their family's restrictive ways, and for them to learn to step into their own power, which how many of us have had to do that on this journey, but have them learn to step into their own power instead of living under the power of their family. So it can definitely be done. But of course, it's not something you can control. The only thing you can do is live your own life. And like you say, you're a very strong woman who wants to have a career and everything. And that's what you need to do, because if we've explained this before, it's much like you and your twin are like a ladder. So one of you is here and one of you is here. And that doesn't mean you're one's above each other or anything like that. What's happening though is as you grow, that pulls your twin up. And then they grow and that pulls you up. So you're working always in tandem, even if you don't see that in a conscious physical way. So when you're stepping into your power and saying, no, this is the life I want to live, I'm honoring myself by not wanting to be a wife that's at home and subservient. I want to have a career and I want to be independent. What you're doing is you're modeling that to them so that they can then speak those terms and words to their own family and learn how to say, wait, no, this isn't the life I want. I want my own life. I don't want my family controlling what I do, who I am, who I see, what cultural person that I marry.
Matching their expectations.
Right. So the more you live for you, the more your twin gets that energy. And remember, even if you're not in communication, even if you're not seeing them or they're not seeing you and they don't even know how you're living, you're connected energetically. So when you shift energetically, so do they. That's the great thing about this journey, is because you're connected on an energetic level, when you work for you, it helps them do their own healing too.
I actually saw that as you were describing the ladder. I saw it in my mind as two separate ladders. You're each on your own ladder, but as you're growing and reaching beside each other, it's not that one gets ahead of the other, it's that one maybe shows the opportunity
Ah,
to the other as they achieve various levels of other successes. And as the person in the middle, sometimes, uh, let's say the guy in this case, he might be able to be in the middle, but say, this person that you don't really approve that I'm with is doing very well in life because they have all these ambitions. And it doesn't matter that that this person should be following things according to tradition. This person is having a very good life outside of normal tradition, and it's very possible that his family could recognize that there may be more than one way to skin the cat.
exactly. Exactly.
Still, it ends up being that you're selling yourself to the family first so that they'll give the opportunity for your twin to get with you. Well, okay. If that's the way the path goes, that's the way the path goes.
Breaking templates. That's the video that I was remembering, and that's exactly
This is the
what you and
templates.
your twin have chosen before you came here on a soul level, before you came to earth. These are the templates you guys chose to break. So you've kind of set out together going, wow, we got a lot we're gonna clear and heal, which good on you. I mean, that's why we're all here as twin flames, and many other souls that are here to help clear the earth and shift things into a higher vibration. We're here to break old templates of culture, and that families that say, no, you can only marry within your culture, and no, this is the way it must be. We're all here to break things like that, and age and race and religion, to show people that love is love is love, right? And that's part of what your journey is showing people that true love doesn't have a color, an age, a race, a religion, all of those things. And he might have to get to the point where he steps away from his family. Sometimes families will literally disown their children if they choose to, be with a partner that's outside of what the old templates are. And he might get to the point where he's like, oh, well, my parents will disown me, but this is my path. But that's not a choice you can make for him, obviously, right? The only choices you can do is keep honoring yourself. Keep living the life that you know your soul is calling you to live. And that then mirrors back to him energetically to do the same thing.
Templates came along because, well, I won't even say decades ago, centuries ago. Oftentimes, life didn't change very much from generation to generation. So, what worked and what didn't work tended to stay fairly much the same from generation to generation. So, as things worked, they became rules, they became templates. In this day and age, things change very fast. What was normal 5 years ago is old school 5 years from now. So things change. Things change once or twice within a generation, let alone once within 2 or 3 generations. So sometimes breaking templates is just as much about education to those who made the templates as those who are following the templates.
Yeah. Now, there was some other questions. Did we answer everything?
Can we heal the expectations the twin has about wanting me to be a different person in 3D?
Well, and I think that kind of went with what I was saying is the only way to heal that is to be you, honor you, and live your life. And if he's meant to come around, he'll come around. But you can't sacrifice yourself, your beliefs, your desires, your true, authentic self for him or anybody else. So you can't heal him, but you can live your life, and that will help mirror back that energy to him for him to make his own choices.
Yeah, you can only let him know what your choices are. Let him decide whether or not he's capable of somehow or another agreeing with and living with those choices.
Yeah.
And becoming part of those choices is really what happens.
Yeah. There was another question here. Will my twin ascend if people around him, specifically his parents, don't want him to? They are very domineering over him and brainwash him in old traditional beliefs. So first of all, yes, of course he can ascend, because once again, the soul aspect of us has more control over our lives than our 3D self, as much as it doesn't look like that sometimes. It looks like the 3D, human aspect of us is what's really driving us. No, the soul is really the driving force. And when his soul chooses to awaken, and it's not to say he's not ascending now, just because his parents are, brainwashing him per se, it doesn't mean he's already not on an ascension path. You just might not see it happening on a physical level yet. But if a soul's chosen to ascend, there's nobody and nothing that can really hold them back, in my opinion.
There's so many different definitions of ascension. There's ascension to a higher place within spirituality once you've left the earth. There's some definitions of ascension of where you ascend and then you don't have to come back to earth because you've ascended, because you've learned enough. In other words, a final ascension.
From this planet
specifically. From this planet specifically? Sure. So, will a person ascend? Well, how about this? If you don't have a concept of what some people would call hell, then every time you leave the planet, it's some level of ascension.
Definitely.
So, will a person ascend further than when they started out from is one of my favorite ways of saying it. As far as I'm concerned, if you've had even very minimal experiences, you've come here with a plan of what needs to be learned, and whether you learned a lot through 100 years or you only lived 10 days but you felt a parent's love, that's going to cause an ascension very much further than where you started out from.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
Will a person ascend? Yes, all depending upon your definition of ascension. My definition of ascension is very forgiving.
I like that. It's very forgiving. Did we cover all the questions?
We're right down to this portion, so is that enough?
I think so.
Okay. I think we've had a really good video.
Oh, so we got one more to go, though.
No, that's enough.
Oh.
One more?
Yeah.
We can do that one?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. There's a comment at the beginning of this one that's very nice. Thank you for the comment. Interesting that Rob mentioned that he spoke about some of his spiritual journey with his colleague. Yes, I do that once in a while. You both seem so grounded, and I love that you are so active in the TF spiritual community and also have jobs with the conventional paradigm. Yes. Boy, do I ever. I was wondering if you could talk more about how you achieve this balance, not just energetically, but also in practical terms. for instance, do you ever have to worry about what people in your professional lives might think if they knew about your spiritual work? Do you ever explain any of it to them, or are the two worlds completely separate? I try to let people know that I have a life of, I call it spiritual practice. I call it online spiritual practice. And I
What does
talk,
that mean? Online?
it's online as opposed to being in person.
Oh, like this you mean? Like
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Online.
Okay.
It's all what I call it.
Okay.
So I explain that I have my own community that I'm in touch with. I tend not to play up the thought that I have a leadership role in it, but at the same time, I still put energy into it. I tell my direct boss now, I'm not going to put any expectations on this, and I don't want to create expectations. But on Wednesday nights, I usually leave saying, "Oh yeah, it's Wednesday, it's book night." I'm very, very slowly chipping away at putting something that would resemble a book together. And of course, when you don't do it full time, it's slowly. That's the only way it goes. But anyway, yeah, Wednesday night is book night, and my boss quite recognizes that.
And does he know what the book is about?
No, not really.
Oh,
He doesn't
okay.
doesn't really know.
So he just knows you're writing a book, but he doesn't have
Yeah.
any clue that it's spiritual.
And well, he does know that it's spiritual. It's to do with the spiritual community that I'm part of.
Okay.
But I don't divulge more than that.
Okay.
If I put out that amount of information and nobody asks any questions, there's no questions to be answered. So that's how I kind of balance that. Just like people say, "Oh yeah, I got kids in soccer," or I go out and I play soccer myself at night or whatever. I sometimes just go home and type in a book.
So I'm going to answer the questions in the opposite order they were asked. Here, do you ever explain any of it to them, or are the two worlds completely separate? So this is the neat thing about union. What is union? Merging of the energies, right? And so the more you come into union with yourself, the more your worlds come into union too. So your spiritual world does come into union with your 3D world, your job world, your friend world. I mean, our friends know we're twin flames. They were at our wedding and twin flames was spoken. Some want to know more. Some don't want to know anything more. Some think we're a little weird. Some think we're cool, and they're always asking us, "So, what was your video about this week?" So, we're open to sharing with people at whatever level they're comfortable with, because we're comfortable with ourselves, and that's part of inner union, right? The more you are comfortable with you, the more you can be open to sharing, but also knowing that it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. We've lost friends over being twin flames, and that's okay too, because not everybody's going to get it, and some people think we're wing nuts, and okay, that we honor their journey, fine. But having said that, it doesn't mean you just come to a point where you just want to tell everybody you're twin flames and you're comfortable and open with it. I can remember at my job, I used to watch twin flame videos on my lunch break, and my boss would come out, because we just kind of stay at the office on our lunch break. And he would come out, and I'd quickly pause the video and close the screen, so he didn't know what I was doing. And one time he's like, "What are you watching?" And I'm like, "Nothing. And he wouldn't let it go. He kept pressing and pressing and pressing. So I finally said, and I just tried to play it up, and I was like, "It's just weird stuff. It's spiritual stuff." And he still was pushing and pushing. "Well, what kind of spiritual stuff?" I'm like, "Fine. It's this weird thing called twin flames. And Rob and I just have this unique soul connection, and we're what's called twin flames." He's like, "I've heard of that." And now I'm so grateful that he did push me to tell him. I mean, here I was, I didn't know him at that point a whole lot. I mean, now I've been in the job many years, but at that point I wasn't. So I was totally afraid of what he would think and how he would judge me. I mean, now he knows everything. He knows our channel. He he knows the people that I watch. He'll comment, "Oh, that's those people," or "Oh, that's those people." So he even knows like the different videos that I watch. He's very open. I will often upload the videos that we do at work, and he'll be like, "Oh, so what was your video on last night?" And, yeah. So it's just because I've had an open communication with my boss, and a boss that's very open to things, that I've been able to share. But even you, even though you live in a very different world, I mean, being in the car industry, people aren't too open normally about spirituality. They're very like 3D concrete people.
Come to work, go to work.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
even one of your coworkers, which is kind of where this is coming from, because you had explained that one of your coworkers knows about 11:11.
Yeah.
He would see you texting at 11:11. In fact, his coworker would even sometimes point it out. If Rob was going to miss, he'd be like, "Hey, it's 11:11," because we text each other at 11:11 and 1:11 every day if we remember or have the opportunity to.
Yeah, he thought it was cute. You know, it's with no level of sadness here. I've actually transferred to a different department, so I don't work shoulder to shoulder with that coworker anymore. But at the same time, I still get to talk to him half a dozen different times a day. So yeah, he's still in my life. I've had to break in a couple of new coworkers. It's all working out just fine. I just don't have that level of openness with them. One of them maybe eventually, but it's just not something that I push. I let them ask the questions.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. It's a balance. You learn who to share with and who not to share with, and you learn to respect other people's understanding of it. Like some people are going to totally ask for more, like my boss did, and then there's going to people go, "I don't want to know anymore." That's fine. Okay, you go live your weird life, and I don't want to know about it.
And then you know to leave them alone.
Totally. We have friends like that, and we used to see them all the time before COVID.
You don't see barely anybody anytime
No,
now.
we don't.
I see my coworkers way more than my friends now. And there's some friends I used to see a lot. That's okay. COVID will go away.
Yeah. But the point I guess I'm trying to get to is when you become more balanced within yourself, your spiritual life, your work life, your friends' life, your personal life, they all start to merge because you're merged. You become more physically together, whole, balanced, oneness with yourself. So everything in your life becomes that too.
Yeah. You've described it well. I've got nothing more.
Okay. I think that's the end. Rob's giving me the end look.
No. It's such a good question.
It is.
Yeah. No. We're at the end.
All right, so that was our video for April. We actually did one in March, but this one took us longer than a month to do because life. Good answer.
Yeah.
Life. We were actually going to do a video last weekend, and today is what, April 25th? 5th, yeah, right. I got 25 days.
Yeah.
Right. So last Sunday we were going to do a video, and it was snowing outside, and I was not impressed, so I didn't even want to get dressed. So I was either going to have to do a video in my house coat with you guys or just not do a video. So I just chose not to do a video because I wasn't in the mood to get dressed.
And also, I was very distracted too that day. I got my first COVID shot.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, and by the end of the day, I was having a few side effects. I wasn't feeling that great. So if I didn't do the video right away, which we didn't, then it just wasn't going to happen because I was not feeling great.
Now you just brought up a whole topic of controversy.
That's okay. I've been controversial before.
Why stop now?
I'm like a whirling vortex of controversy.
So anyways, thank you for your questions. We
Yes.
have another whole page full to answer next month. But in the meantime, we wish you all well. We send you our love. Hopefully you're happy, healthy, and where you are in the world, COVID is becoming less of a restrictive thing, and you're starting to live a more normal life.
Yep.
Whatever normal is.
Okay.
All right. We love you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.